Yes, Mr. Ayush.
Hello, sir.
Hello, hello. How are you? How are you?
Good, good, good. Good, good.
Okay, Mr. Ayush. So thank you for coming. And as you know, I discussed now. Let me first tell you the students, right, that he is the one, whose advice I think is more valuable than any other rankers, especially for law optional student, because he's a non-law graduate and has scored much more better marks than anyone else. Okay, so take his advice. I think in a very very sporting manner, the best manner you can take. Okay, so I have certain questions from students and from myself also. And yesterday, I mean, day before yesterday, I asked you also, but for the benefit of other students, I'm asking it again. Now, the first question that the most of the students want to know that what is the strategy that you followed in preparing, all the major subjects, one by one, and please be very thorough because the advice of the toppers like you is very beneficial to them actually. Yes. So first about the constitutional law, what did you, followed in the case of constitutional
Uh, so, constitutional law. Actually, I did not know much about which optional I'm going to take in the initial phase. So, I started reading Lakshmikant very religiously.
law? Okay.
So, at that time, I picked up polity and constitution very early. So, after that, when I thought about that, okay, constitution is something that I have to read in law optional as well. So, at that time, initially, I got there is one book, sir, Dukhi. So I followed Dukhi, A.K. Jain's Dukhi a lot. So I started reading Dukhi first. But Dukhi is a summarized version of any big textbook. So it is not, it won't suffice much. So after that, I got an idea from my friend. I got the photo stated pages from MP Jain of fundamental rights and everything. So Dukhi, fundamental rights, and internet is my basic understanding of the constitution. After that, sir, what I did that I started writing answers of the constitution, previous year questions, and there I somehow understood what is the demand of the answers that the UPSC is asking. My failures in 15 and 16, as you know about my journey, sir.
Yeah.
uh,
We will talk
and
about it.
there, sir, I started. So my preparation strategy is taking a question and then understanding what is the demand of the question, and then search that content. To be very honest, so I followed. There is Shodh Ganga. There are some PhD or MPhil documents of the Shodh Ganga. So through Shodh Ganga, I used to take, okay, what should be my introduction? After my introduction, I used to write rationale basis of that. That is the compulsory in my answers that should be there. So and then the judgments I slowly picked up and learned. It's not that I instantly did that. And I concluded with my answer. What is the demand of the question? So let's say if the question is about the Election Commission of India, so I write my conclusion by preamble, linking it the democracy and the preamble. So I used to start with the constitution of the Election Commission of India, then the rationale why the Election Commission of India is important, and the free and fair democracy and everything. Then solve the content and conclude with the what is the root of why election is important, so that the preamble and the democracy. So this is how I understood the demand of the question, and then I searched about the content. So if you ask me the content of the constitution, Dukhi, internet, absolutely necessary, live law, and MP Jain very selectively, especially fundamental rights.
See, but most of the time that you suggested that is very correct actually. That I also sometimes use them, right? That is with regard to giving the dictating notes from some of the good lines. That okay, you write this line as it is because no matter how brilliant you are, you cannot be refined as a judge, right? So the writing judgment of the Supreme Court judges, their refined way you cannot do. But what about the philosophical type of question that is mostly asked? Like for an example, how far DPSP have been successful, or linking the question of preamble with DPSP, those type of question, how do you handle that?
So initially itself, I used to write the philosophy of the preamble. Like somehow I read that in various academic documents are there. As you know, Shodh Ganga is one such fine document which I have used. So I have learned the philosophy slowly with time, and I would say, sir, this is something very beautiful, as you said. Even I used to mention exact lines of the judges and the exact lines of the constitutional philosophy books, because see, here something we need to follow what is mentioned in the books. We cannot just go and write our innovation over there. So there I used to write, yeah, in presenting my answers I used to use my innovation by how to introduce my question, because some of the answers I never used to mention the articles. I used to write the chapters or the part of the Indian Constitution. I never used to cite, like for instance, if I started center-state relation, I never used to write that okay, Article 246 talks about subject matter distribution of power. I used to start like that is that India,
Part 11.
that is Bharat is a union of states that shows. However, there is federal characteristics that is mentioned in the part 11 of the Indian Constitution, that is a relation between union and state. And then I said how the subject matter distribution happens like that. So I created the whole philosophy in this way, and I used the Constitution a lot. And then, sir, in center state, the doctrine of pith and substance and all that which is mentioned in the books. That innovation you have to bring it at the introduction and at the conclusion. But sir, content has to be there. What is mentioned in the books, as you said, the exact lines of the
exact lines. Yeah. No. I was mentioning other day also, right? Some of the foundation student told me, right? I told you also that see, you are dictating what is written in some of the judgments. What is the use of that? I also keep saying it. That is actually very useful. You have to write that in the lesson. Okay. Leaving that aside, what about international law? This is about the constitutional law. What about the international law? What international law books or notes that you followed or whatever?
I'm very poor with the books, but I mentioned what I followed, sir. Yeah. I got really good marks in the last 3 attempts. So, sir, again, A.K. Jain Dukhi, my primary source. Then there are few chapters, like very basic chapters like recognition, succession, and the basic what is the definition of international law and all that I did from S.K. Kapoor, sir. There is one book, sir. And then, sir, holistically reading the different academic articles of in internet, sir. There are articles. If you research, so what I used to do, sir, I used to open the UN Charter. If I'm using United Nations, I used to open the whole UNCLOS document. What are the articles of the UNCLOS and all. So at one side, I used to open that and understand chapter wise. Okay, if exclusive economic zone is mentioned, it is in the chapter 5 or something, and chapter 6 is about the continental that zone and or something. So I used to read holistically whole the UNCLOS chapter from the basic text, means the basic charter or the basic or the constitution of that, and then I used to read the academic articles, understanding what are the questions. So I research on the I see the question, and I know the basic textbook of S.K. Kapoor and Dukhi are not enough to score good marks. Then I used to go on internet, use Shodh Ganga articles or use some of the academic articles. For international law, I saw a few of the academic articles are very good, especially written by the foreigners. Some of the foreigners have written very good articles on international law. And I used to mention, yeah.
No, that blog that you told, which blog you used to follow? That blog you told that with regard to international law. It's a foreign author, sorry, not blog, foreign author.
Foreigner author, sir. There is no particular blog. Though
actually, one girl, that Rujata Bankar, she was last year topper. So she told me that there is some girl who is maintaining a blog with regard to international law. She's doing PhD in some national law university, and she is doing so she writes a very succinct article, concept with regard to that particular blog. Did you happen to know the name of that blog also? Very famous. I mean, I also visited that blog. What does she do? That she actually takes all the major case law and makes it very simple points. Right, and sometimes I dictated those points in the batch also. So you did not happen to see that?
No, sir. I did it on my own. Everything I did it on my own.
Yeah. No, that is very good. And what about the topics in international law which is not there in any of the books, like WTO, organizations, these type of thing? What you did for that?
I normally blend my GS strategy with that. And to be very honest, to make it law, to make it right as a legal answer, you have to bring more of the legal aspects in it. And sir, how to bring legal aspects by writing the basic charter, or the WTO has a basic charter, right? Yeah. And by writing the exact text, what is written in the WTO, like in United Nations answer, my introduction used to start like that the basic preamble of the UN is to save the succeeding generation from the scourge of the war. So this is my basic thing at the very first line. So if the examiner sees that from the very start, now he'll understand this guy know the basics. And the philosophy comes from the text itself, sir. And the question was, what was your question regarding?
The question was with regard to the topic which is not available in any books. Where do you used to?
So internet, the basic charter of that thing, and yes, sir, basic research on the internet.
What about always there is a question with regard to international terrorism, right? Write a short note on international terrorism. Not given in any books. What
there are ample text is written on that, sir. If someone very smart entering into or research on internet, I think there is enough text available.
Ample textbook. I mean, not in the traditional textbook, mostly on internet. I find one PDF with regard to that in that IGNOU text. When we have Gandhian peace studies in Masters of IGNOU, there's a very important, very good PDF with regard to that international terrorism. I think something like that you are referring to.
Yeah, I have read lot of foreigner academic articles also.
So in that, okay. Now let us come to the paper two, right? Now, paper two, let us start with the shortest syllabus, law of thought. How did you handle it? Because law of thought, we have used books, but here in hardly there's 3-4 questions, right? So how you have summarized that and performed better in that?
Sir, law of thought, I read it like I was not very good at law of thought and contract law. So I read it thoroughly, sir. I read Bangia and I read the Dukhi, both Bangia and Dukhi. There is one book of Bangia for
Yeah.
contract and for tort, both. I followed Bangia book,
Okay.
and Dukhis are there for tort and for contract law. And I followed both religiously. I followed the cases mentioned because the cases in tort is very important, because tort doesn't have a constitution or it does not have a
It is
charter or
based on
something.
case law itself. Yes,
So
very correct.
it derives from the common law. So for that, we need to know what is the exact basis of that. From which case, particularly, this concept came into picture,
And we go on.
like strict liability and absolute liability. That is something what is mentioned by the judge. Why he brought this idea. If someone writes that, I mean, examiner can't cut the marks. Right? If someone writes,
Why the strict liability, absolute liability principle evolved, and what is the comment of that? That judgment, if I refer to that MC Mehta judgment, right? Really,
yes,
very brilliantly judges,
beautiful words
argue.
really. Uh,
Really, very brilliantly, they argue that why, due to
why
unique Indian situation, industrialized economy, we need this type of situation. That is very correct. Really, that is why you got, and to viewers, right, that more than 276 marks. It is one of the toppest marks that he have got it. Okay, one of the topper event have not got that much marks. That is really very good, really very commendable. Really, I should commend it again. Now, what about law of crime? Which books or notes that you followed with case of crime?
Sir, crime for criminal law. Luckily, I could read the first whole IPC, Indian Penal Code, from section 76 till, like, I used to take the section 76 to 106 very thoroughly. So I followed this thing that for every criminal question, I used to write exact essentials. What are the crimes? What are the essentials of all the things? And I used to write the illustrations that are mentioned in that sections,
Section.
whatever the illustrations are.
Very good.
So, and I used to write few of the major, very famous judgments. I never used to write judgments a lot, rather than I used to write illustrations a lot. Exact illustrations mentioned in. So I used to
Mentioned in the
write that
section,
this is
appended
the
to the section itself.
illustration mentioned in section 300 for murder and culpable homicide. I always differentiate between the two by firstly defining the term, then because there are essentials for that, right? And then I define the exact illustration to differentiate both of them. And then I used to write R versus Govinda case and the Punaya versus State of AP case and all those cases, because there they define it a little further. So few of the landmark judgments and illustrations. So the book I followed is Dukhi and IPC Bear Act and Internet. I never followed Pillai book.
Okay. Pillai is a little bit advanced also. That is really not needed actually. Now, in the case of law of crime, right, there are sometimes questions very philosophical in nature again, right? Like, what do you think about the utility of, the concept of related to punishing a person who is committing suicide? So is it fair? Or how far the criminal jurisprudence have changed? It has become, from criminal centric to victim centric. How did you prepare for those type of questions? How did you do that?
So I read few of the reports, Malimat report and something that gave me few of the idea that
Okay.
how to about the crime. What are the suggestions given by these reports? So whenever the philosophical question comes, I just I just define the introduction through through the IPC Bear Act itself,
Okay.
and what are the philosophy and the basis why this punishment or why this offense brought into picture, and then the Balimat committee what they said, and should we need that or something. Simplicity, because I cannot do much about the philosophical question because my background is not law. So whatever my knowledge, I need to bring those aspects into that and try to make it more structured answer. That's it.
No, I have read your answers. You have written good answer. There is no doubt about it. Now, what about? Let us come to the next subject, right? That is your contract. Now, in that contract, let us form two-part question. First, general contract provisions, 1970, 1872, the major provisions, and the individual act, right? Like for example, Sales of Goods Act, for example, negotiable instrument, right? So let us first handle the first part. How did you answer? I mean, answered, not basically studied the major provision of the contract normally, right? Quasi contract, etc. How did you do? And what was the strategy?
First thing I always do, I see a Bayer Act and I try to read the index for 2 days or something. I try to read index and understand the index. So I understand the basis this question comes from where. And I always in my introduction try to write the root of where the question comes from. Like this question comes from chapter 3, agreements which are not contract. This question comes from chapter 2. This question comes from chapter 1 or something in the contract law, sir. So I would read the Bayer Act first, understand the Bayer Act. Even in the Bayer Act itself, the first and the second page, they have created a flow chart defining everything. This chapter, this provision in this chapter or something. And then, sir, the content I get it from the Bangia and the Duki. I think Duki is really good. And if you see, the contract questions are repeatedly agreement to contract. These questions, there are few very very basic questions that come, and internet also I use internet.
And because in the
And the
contract,
second,
I could also see, mostly the conceptual question comes, right? That termination would not always mean discharge, or discharge would not always mean termination, some that sort of stuff. And that is, I think, is you have a very good strategy to understand in that format itself. Okay, this will amount to this, this will not amount to this.
yes, yes, yes.
That is
That is
really,
very,
really
very
good.
good.
What about
I think
the
my subject is not law, but I think law is very, very interesting subject if someone tries to
yeah,
understand
today
that.
itself, when a student came to meet me, and he was a law graduate, right, from, I think, you this Kolkata, not Kolkata, Odisha, KIIT Odisha, right? He was telling me, sir, I'm law graduate, should I take law? Right? I was telling him that you should have met some of the students who are not law graduate, and you should take it. And yesterday also, that guy came to meet that you were there, right? He was also not a law graduate and quite confused whether he should take it. Okay, anyhow, now what about the act, which is very, long, but the syllabus is, I mean, they have mentioned just one, like negotiable instrument. Huge sections, 50, 60 sections, right? Or, sales of goods act, again, very huge law, right? How did you handle them?
Yes, sir, they asked very repeatedly same questions. So I used to
Totally
see
agree.
first, I used to see the previous year questions. So I
Yeah.
bought one previous year question, 15 to 20 year question booklet is available in the market.
Yeah.
I
It
think
is
one of the
available on de
institutes
facto
have
website
posted.
also, very freely available. No need to buy it. Yeah, yes.
So I bought it, sir. I bought that book, and I what I used to do that I saw all the questions mentioned in that negotiable instrument part, and I used to mark in my book negotiable instrument where the questions are coming. So I came to know, okay, there are 3 4 chapters from where they are asking the negotiable instruments. And then I like holder in due course, holder one question come directly, that is the always they ask the same
Concept
question.
of
So
subrogation, right?
I
That concept of
yes,
subrogation, most of the time they ask. Yeah. What about the sales of goods
so
act?
I
How did you clear, I mean, studied that?
Sales of Goods Act was very easy, sir. Sales of
Same.
Goods Act is not a very bulky act. I
Yeah.
think there are total 60 sections or something near to that. I think last chapter is that. So again, the same thing. Go at the introduction, at the basic, at the index, understand the what kind of chapters they are, understand the previous year question from where they are asking, and try to write an answer which is the best of my capability, and try to improve that. And that comes from okay, introduction. I have to write the chapter and the article, then body, what are the questions they have asked, and conclude it. So I practiced again and again, and then I made structures of my answer and tried replicated that in the time framed answer
Yeah,
format.
that is very good. That is very good. And they're very, nicely you have explained.
Sir, I might
So,
not be having so much knowledge, but just that I know how to score marks in law.
no, no,
That's it.
see, as I always tell, right, it is not the, law professors who are very good guide, right? It is, there's a difference between teacher and a coach, right? That is why in UPSC field, you won't find any law professors doing very wonderful, right? So, the person who are prepared, they are more apt, right? So your advice is really very good. Now, what about the most talked part of the law syllabus, that is your contemporary legal development? How did you handle that? I mean, there are a lot of acts, like they have write a very generic statement, environmental laws, right? So how did you handle that?
My sadly, I'm not really good in CLD, and I told you this thing also. And I used to do 3 4 chapters like RTI and competition law very effectively, and trial by media and all. But I used to leave IT law and IPR. Means I never used to emphasize so much on them. So in 2017, I got 142 in my paper 2, and that too also IPR question came and I left it, but still I got 142. And then 2018 again, only one question I could not able to solve that come from CLD, because normally from part A I do 2 questions and 1 question I have to do from part B. So but I got 144 in that 2018 also in law paper 2. But is this year they made this paper so I mean like they made it like you
That is
have
why
to
you got,
know
you know,
CLD
you
pathways.
could have easily got, I think, 310, right? Because this time they cleverly did that in
Yeah,
each of the question there was one to CLD question, right? So even though you have not studied
exactly.
CLD, definitely you will miss them.
You have to do. That's why I was really angry. The moment I came out, my mother asked how was last paper. Just enjoy. I said no. I did not do really well, and I was really happy after writing my law paper one that I am going to get all over India highest in law paper one. I got 147, and that is the
That is,
highest
yeah,
as
one
well.
of the, no, no
Yeah,
doubt about it. No doubt about
and I was because all the way I used to practice my answer writing, I could able to replicate the same thing. But law paper two, I was really sad that what I did this year, and I got 129 this year, and that is there. Had I prepared CLD well, I would have got 140s, 150s there also. So I would have scored nearly
No, no,
300.
your marks, you know, you rest assured your mark is, you know, the most awesome. That girl, that 237 rank, what's her name from this institute itself, that Nirja Anissa, right? She's a law graduate from very good university. Still, she got less mark, right? So you really, you know, done wonder. Really, you have done wonders. So instead of, you know, really need not to say, you have done wonders. Even a non-law graduate, such a high mark, very nice actually. Now, the other questions that I have, right? I have made a, you know, list of the questions that was asked from different websites also, you know, and de facto IS also gave me, said these are the questions the students are asking. So let me, you know, and those questions, you know, you might find silly, but that question is really very important because people, you know, those who are preparing for law for the first time do find it very confusing sometimes. Okay, so please bear with me. Okay, those questions I'm asking you, right? Now, the first question, that what was your plan B? Suppose no law, then what you could have done?
Sir, this I'm not really good to answer that question because, as I said, that in 2015 I left my job, very good job, Infosys. I got an opportunity. My manager was sending me to abroad for a project. I said no, I want to prepare for UPSC. In 2015 and 16, I cleared SSC CGL and got appointed as an auditor in Government of India. I left that also, sir, because I wanted to clear UPSC, sir. In 2018 attempt, I realized 17, 18. Now I am not able to clear after interview, and let's accept that. So I started teaching, sir, and I
Very
started
good.
teaching Indian Constitution and international relations, and I got really good welcome. I mean, my students were really happy, and they used to tell me, even they pushed me for my last attempt. They said, "Sir, you should definitely give your last attempt, and there is no reason you can't clear this paper."
And they were
And
right. And they were right. Huh? They were right.
so I thought, sir, if I won't be able to do that, I'll start teaching something I really like, and I think teaching is good also.
No, no,
So
no. I have interacted with you, right, when you came here, and I really find you have a very good personality in that sense, right? But still, you know, somehow you got less marks in, you know, this
and
interview
I would
process,
have
right?
got it top 200, top 100 rank. Had
Yeah,
I
you
got a
could
good
have. You
marks in
could
my
have. No problem. That's all right. Now, what about another question that did you use any sketch or diagram to elaborate your answer, right?
Sir, this thing is very important. I never used to do that,
Yeah.
but this year I did that in one question, contract of guarantee. So I sketched three
Yeah.
parties.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I showed them
Data,
how
principal,
contract of
data,
guarantee.
creditor. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I showed them how they are working and all. I used that chart previously in 2017 and 18. I did not draw it. Right.
So it means that have improved yours. But you know, 17, 18 also you got good marks, right? So I
Yeah,
don't think
yeah,
that.
sir, I don't think sketching diagrams or flowchart helps in law because in law you have to use philosophy, constitution,
Good
and
lines, yeah.
judgments. This is the criteria to score good marks rather than drawing
Okay.
diagrams.
Now, what about? I mean, when you try to manage time, what do you do? You answer first 10 marker question or 20 marker questions or 15 mark.
Then in my 15, 16, I started with 10 markers and I could not able to complete papers and I scored very poor, 210 and all. So
Okay.
then I practiced a lot, full length test papers in 2017. And then, sir, my style is that in I do part A, second and third question, two questions from part A, and then I do part B, second or third question, like 15 or 20 marker question. And I give time, everything is set in my mind when I need to complete those 15 and 20 marker question. So I give like maybe like 35 minutes or something, 30, 35 minutes for completing one question. 15, 15, 20 marker, 50 mark. So I completed 50 mark from part A, then 50 marker from part B, then two 10 markers left. Then I complete them. Part A 10 marker 5 questions and part B 10 marker 5 questions because I in all my papers I'm very strong in part B, part A, and not at all that strong in part B.
So you
I
always
completely
chose, 3 questions from part A and 2 questions from part B.
always in both for paper one, constitution also, and in IPC and tort also. IPC tort is part A, no?
Part
So I
A.
come.
Okay. Now, the other question is that with regard to, interview, right? There's a detailed, answer format also that I will send you. Please fill that also. Yeah, we have to put that in website because people often ask it, right? So please do that as well. Now, in the case of interview, right? How did you prepare for the interview? I mean, what you did before interview? Obviously, we had a very long call of 1 hour. Apart from that, what else you did?
Since I have not joined any academy or institute,
Yeah.
so I didn't take any guidance from anywhere. I trusted myself, my abilities, and tried to prepare that. Sir, what I followed that uh, I followed live law very religiously, especially the column articles comes in live law. Everyday news comes, but the column articles, because every now and then some judges comes and say something, and that
Right.
becomes new. Especially this presently CGI Ramanna, he has been saying so many things.
So much.
And secondly,
Recently, he
sir,
had located 50% reservation in judiciary, and that I think is a very important topic for next year. I mean, this year's laws, for example. Very good. And apart
and
from
then
that,
sir, I followed one YouTube channel, Faizan Mustafa sir, and that I came to know after my mains. I never followed in my mains. I followed in my interview. That too, one of my friends who has cleared and who is in IFS, he told me to follow that. And sir, I interacted with you also, 1 hour long
yeah, one
conversation.
hour long.
I came to know about
So
you, and
what
I
about this
interacted.
in international affair and this current affair international level? How did you prepare that? International level current affair.
Sir, my interest is international relations, following India's international relations. So
Maybe a specific website or something for that.
uh, sir, there are 2 3 websites I followed. Firstly, I used to read a lot about Indian Express articles and the Hindu articles by Suhasini Heather, and there is very famous Indian Express article.
MK
Sir, also
Narayanan?
I'm who
MK Narayanan?
MK Narayanan also, and there is one other. I'm forgetting his name, sir. And then,
Jan
sir,
Solan also.
uh, there are 2 3 websites. One is the government website itself. One is MEA I followed, and another I'm forgetting the name of these websites, sir. But I followed 3 4 websites for
The
my
Diplomat, are
international.
you referring to The Diplomat? Very good website. The Diplomat.
Diplomat is a magazine that I followed very selectively. I took subscription also for that, and there is government websites, sir, that there is. I'm forgetting the name. Maybe it's just not coming on top.
Okay, we will. You can give me later. Now, what about the duration of interview? Right, during interview, obviously, you also sent in that interview group. What are the question that was asked? Right,
I know.
that really helped the other people, right? But still, I would like to reiterate them that what are the major question that was asked.
Yes, sir. So my interview, I did not created the transcript of my interview because I was not very happy with my interview. So it started off with the Bhosle sir's board. I got again Bhosle sir's board,
Yeah, you
and he
told.
is very infamous of
Nice.
not giving marks. So he started with me that you have interest. Your graduation is IT, and you have taken law as an optional. So he said, uh, "Tell me how artificial intelligence can be used in arbitration."
And
And
arbitration.
arbitration, specifically arbitration. And he said that Justice Bobde said something about it. You tell me what you understand by it. He told me the statement of Justice Bobde uh, about that how artificial intelligence help in arbitration. Then he discussed that thing with me. Then one ma'am asked me about International Court of Justice and the whole issue of Kulbhushan Jadhav judgment. What was the original judgment and what they have said. Then she
Okay.
asked me that how under the law of sea, how the countries, landlocked countries, access their rights.
Hmm.
Under the law of seas, how landlocked countries
No
access their rights.
controversy.
And she gave me example of Nepal, Bhutan also with respect to India. Then the third board member discussed a lot with me of the cricket administration, because I played for Delhi. I played along with Virat Kohli and everyone. So in under 15 and under 17, so she asked me that if you become an administrator, how will you improve cricket administration? And we had a long discussion on Lodha committee recommendations. And then the fourth member asked me a lot about international relations, but I don't know why he entered into the factual details. So he started asking me a lot on who's the ambassador of India in Sri Lanka, Nepal, and all the countries. I did not know that, and he said you follow international relations. So that
How do
thing.
that? Oh. So it means
And
it. You have to,
Yeah.
follow everything, the hobby that you write, right? You have to follow almost everything.
And then I taught in Amrita IAS Academy in Kerala. So he asked me about what is the real name of Amrita Anandmai. I did not know that, and that is also one of
So
the
you should
factors that.
teach there, yeah. You told me you should teach there, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, what about this? One more question, right? That prelims is going on, right? And a lot of students are going for prelims, and we discussed earlier also. There are a lot of the students who actually, my students, right? I mean, along with you, a lot of students are there who have actually not qualified prelims. I shown you some of the answers also. They're brilliant students. There's no doubt about it, right? Now the question is that how to handle any tips, because you have qualified, 5 year in row prelims, right? Never you have missed prelims. So any special tips that you can give for prelims? I mean, I think day before, I mean, not day before, I think 3-4 days after there is prelims, right? On 10th of October. So
So
any
how
special tips?
what to do in prelims, sir? Like how to
Yeah,
succeed in
yeah,
prelims?
yeah. How you can, and a very last minute tip that what you can do.
Okay, last minute, because
Yeah,
I followed a very rigorous plan for prelims that I cannot follow there.
yeah.
I think three things I would say, sir. One, they have to revise a lot. Whatever they have done, just revise that, because this is not an IIT examination where analytical skills come into picture. This is a UPSC examination where you need to know the factual things a lot. So you should revise whatever your notes are there, whatever your notes. So first, revise. Second thing, sir, I think they should attempt 90 to 93 questions. This many questions. Less than that, it's very tough, because that is the optimal number of questions. If someone calculate, if a person who has prepared well, 90 to 93 questions is a good range. If less than that, the chances to clear is very tough, because normally we know 40 to 50 questions. After that, we don't know. We go for calculated guesswork.
Okay.
And third, sir, they follow a good regime. They eat well and they do exercise. I think I followed exercise a lot. So when I do exercise, I feel good mentally, physically. When I feel good, I feel happy. When I'm in a happy zone or a happy mood, I definitely perform well. So three
Intended.
things: revise well, attempt 90 to 93 questions. I think they have already did that in their test series or something. I used to do that, and then exercise well. Just before prelims, also they should exercise, because exercise is very important to feel rejuvenated and all, and maintain a good diet and the good sleeping habit. If they do that, these basic things, and if they have worked hard for in terms of note making, solving test papers, nobody can stop them, because they select 10,000 to 15,000 people, and I think these many serious candidates are there, so they
Yeah.
can select.
See, because the reason I'm asking more about prelims is that I have no expertise. During my UPSC days, the prelims used to be very different, right? So I have whatever the little expertise I have in the law only, right? Not in the business, right? So I will request that once the prelims is over, right, to the new candidates, I will ask you to actually visit the institute and sort of guide them about prelims as
Definitely.
well along with law.
Sir,
Now,
I will definitely look forward to it, because I've been doing that, and I would love to interact with students, and I would love
definitely,
to share
definitely.
my.
Offline batches have begun, and hopefully people will be back in Karol Bagh, and definitely will back. Now, one question more that I was watching here, right? The student have asked here. That is with regard to that when you study law, is there any way to integrate the preparation of law with other GS optional papers?
Other GS optional papers?
Not sorry, GS. I mean compulsory papers. GS paper 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think two paper is completely. I am that sort of person who actually written the same kind of answers in paper two also. I'm not exactly same. Like a few of the doctrines I have not written, but at least the constitution and the philosophy of the constitution, the basis, the rationale, and the judgments, I have written the same law, constitutional law, in my GS2, and I got around 123 in 2017 in GS2.
Very good,
And
not
this
very
year
good.
also I got 107, which is decent marks. So I've been doing that and I'm scoring good. So I think GS2 and GS3, if you see WTO, IPR, that can
IPL.
be managed in GS3. So GS2 and GS3 both.
What about essay? Do that help in essay as well?
Yes, sir. Essay also. Like I remember 2018, they asked a customary morality essay.
Yeah, that
So
is
customary
complete
morality comes from.
legal topic itself. Yeah, the whole judgment
So,
of that Sabrimala judgment of Justice Nadiman, right? So that is a
so
very
sir, in essay, don't write the legal jargons, doctrines, and everything, or the judgments. You should write the philosophy, whatever you have learned, the preamble philosophy, especially the B.R. Ambedkar philosophy, and the philosophy of the Constitution as such. If someone is good enough to write that, I think they understand and they acknowledge that.
they will do. That I understand. That I understand. No, so it have been long interview. I'm sure people would have been getting benefit of it, right? So thank you very much for attending it, and really I look forward for you to visit again and sort of guide our students again. Okay, because see
Yes.
what happens. You have got such a good marks. Really, I was. The other day I was discussing with someone else also that out of all four candidates that qualified, three of them is from law background, and you are the only from the law background, and you have got literally the highest marks among all of them, right? Now, you also told me one of your friend that 87 or 85, someone rank, right? That no, Nirja was. So someone else, right? He also got around 270 something, right? So you have literally the highest marks, right? So that is really very commendable, really very commendable. Now, yeah, one more question I would like to ask that people generally say that don't take law optional, not a scoring, something like that. What do you have to say about that? Is it a scoring or not?
Sir, I've been scoring well. I got 285 in 2017, 293 in 2018, and 276 in 2020. 2019 I skipped. But yes, I have never seen someone crossing 300, and people are crossing 300 in other optionals as well, like anthropology for that matter. And PubAd also, I think the topper in 2019 got really good marks. So I think yes, there is a chance that people might get more marks in other optional, but law has been a stabilizing factor.
Yeah,
People
that
who are good in law, they're gonna score 280, 290, and with 280, 290, and if you get good marks in interview, you can get top 100 to 200. Sir. I missed it by due to my interview marks. So I would say that if someone wants to be in the safe zone and someone is good in law and understanding law, or if someone has a problem, they can talk to me also. Then I think you can reach till 300, 400, or 200 rank. But yes, you need to score well in your interview and essay or something.
Yeah, and one more thing, without naming any other coaching institutes, please don't do that. Do you think that you should club judiciary and UPSC preparation together? Because I know you told me personally that you have been sort of not very good experience. So what to tell about them, the law graduates, right? So those, so they club their preparation for judiciary and UPSC together.
Sir, I am not from judiciary background, so I don't know. But what I have seen that judiciary people emphasize more on the judgments, and they try to remember a lot of things. But in UPSC, the philosophy matters a lot. So if you have the basic philosophical ideas, you can do well. So I won't suggest mixing judiciary and that thing. And I'm not a good person to guide that also.
Yeah, that I understand. You're non-law graduate, that I understand, right? But the experience that you are sharing with me, that you have, without naming any coaching issue, that is, this should not. Okay, now the last question that I'm going to ask you, that what is the final advice that you are going to give for a UPSC aspirant who have been, not getting good results for 2, 3 years, because you yourself has, tried for 5 years, it was the last attempt. So, sometime after 3, 4 years, financially you struggle emotionally, a lot of stuff going on, right, in your life. So how to handle that? Now, that is a very generic question. I understand, a lot of people give answer to that, but I really want you to especially, mold it as per the law, right? That law student, right? That what they can think of. I mean, how to go about it. Because this answer differs from person to person, that I understand, right? So, what is your best answer that you think that really help them?
People who are not able to see
Yeah,
clearly,
qualify for 2, 3 continuous years here. What to do?
first they should see where they are lacking. So they have to first see the mark sheets. So I used to see my mark sheet and understand where am I lacking. And it is very common that they perform good in one subject and they dip in another subject, and next year they do well in this subject, they dip in this subject. So it's just that you have to maintain the balance in the other subject. So understand, see the mark sheet, and then go for it, that how you need to plan it well. I used to plan my monthly timetable, weekly timetable, and the daily timetable. So this is how they have to do that. Second, how to get motivated, sir. I
Yeah.
would say that have a good mentor. That's the most important thing. Guide, mentor, because mentor is very important to motivate you, and mentor understand your problem also. Have a good mentor. Approach a mentor. I did not follow mentor much, but I would have even cleared this examination a bit early had I a mentor available to me. As I said, my experience, I joined one institute, but they just cheated me for law. And so have a good mentor. That is another aspect. And sir, have a good support system, especially your family. I remember that after 2018 attempt, I told my brother that I'm not going to continue this preparation. And acceptance is the biggest virtue, that you should accept that you are not good enough for this. But he said, no, 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 take a break. 2019, skip it, and 2020 your final, just give it. So I think good support system is very, very important, sir. And I would say one thing, that don't get distracted. Distraction is also a big factor, because once you are in the low side and you get distracted, that will hamper your preparation. So don't get enter into bad relationship. Relationship is good, but bad relationships are not good. I have seen many of my friends enter into bad relationship. And I think don't follow much these social media platforms if you are not good to handle that, like Instagram and all those things. If you are good to handle all these things, you can do that. So how to get motivated? I think your inner desire to perform and the support system are the two biggest things, and the mentor is very much required.
Okay, I think it is, I mean, very good, and you have dwelled into the this. But I will, I always again I will request to you that subject wise, topic wise, the analysis, right, that you please do for the students, right, and that we will publish on the website, right. So thank you very much for this particular interview. Okay, so let us meet. I think after day after, I mean, for around after this prelims, right? After this new batch that I'm starting, right? After that, I will definitely call you once again, right? And we'll have a more, fruitful chat. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so
Okay.
much for your
Thank
help.
you.
I still remember that 1 hour conversation was really, really helpful
Thank you.
before my interview. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.